And welcome back to the Uncool show. I'm Dylan,
I'm Nathan.
and we are on episode 17 today. And, keeping with the Halloween tradition, Halloween just happened, and Nick and I did Halloween 3. Nathan and I are going to talk about Scream today. Scream is my favorite horror movie, my favorite horror franchise.
I ditto.
Yeah.
I'm the same. I feel the same exact way.
It's just very iconic, very important to us, and kind of brought the slasher and brought horror back into a forefront at a time where horror was kind of dying off. But Scream is the best. Why don't you talk a little bit about your relationship to Scream and what it's meant to you throughout the years?
Keeping up with the theme of you introducing me to movies back in the day, this was a big one I knew for you when I was younger, and hearing you talk about Scream and your love for this franchise. I remember when Scream 4 came out, that was a big deal for you and your friends in high school. And this was always a franchise that I wanted to connect to as much as you did. And I have. I think this is my favorite horror franchise too. And I think it's just the best written horror franchise. You have one of the titans of horror in Wes Craven behind the scenes.
Kevin Williamson.
Williamson.
Writing most of the movies.
Who's one of my favorite horror screenwriters.
Yep.
He always has a great knack for putting in the more, he's very referential in his writing, and a very meta-textual, everything that he does. And
well, that's kind of been the legacy of Scream.
Right.
The metatextual analysis and the metatextual aspects of it, that they really don't age. Because they're so rooted in horror normalities, and horror tropes. Especially the first one. I mean, maybe we will talk about all of them in time. God only knows, but especially the first one has a legacy behind it. Wes Craven directed. Why don't you talk a little bit about Wes? And I mean, his legacy is kind of like at least for this movie, he's known for the beginning and the ending, just like tying everything together in such a wild way. But why don't you talk about Wes Craven, somebody who maybe some of our viewership might not know much about?
Like Kevin Williamson, I think Wes is an extremely self-conscious filmmaker. I think he knows the material he's working with, and he has a tight grip on tone. You can see that throughout all of his Scream movies. The Nightmare on Elm Street is obviously his baby. I've only seen the first one, unfortunately.
Yeah, me too.
That's a huge blind spot for me. Yep. But of what I've seen in that franchise, he knows how to have fun in the genre, and he doesn't take himself too seriously. That's why I say he's a self-conscious filmmaker. You can feel his voice throughout all of his work, and no matter what situation he puts his characters in or how dire the situations are in the movie, there's always a lightness and a great sense of humor to everything he does.
Yep. Red Eye is really indicative.
Oh, that's I completely forgot about Red Eye.
Red Eye is super indicative of that. And I love Wes mainly because of this franchise, but I haven't seen like Last House on the Left.
Hills Have Eyes.
Hills Have Eyes. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of his. I saw his really crappy werewolf movie, one of the last ones you made. Mm-hmm. But
I did too. That's Cursed. Yeah. I think that's okay. That's kind of like in the Scream fold.
Yeah, it's fun. He's kind of a blind spot for me too. Like you said, I've only seen the original Nightmare on Elm Street and portions of the remake with Jackie Earle Haley. But Wes Craven passed
was it not too long after Scream 4?
Yeah.
Was that it?
Maybe around 2014, 2015.
Mm-hmm. That sounds right.
A real titan of horror, and other horror filmmakers, both past and present, really have reverence and respect for him and talk about him, as does the cast of this movie. Mm-hmm. We'll get into the cast, but we should start with the opening sequence, just because, one, it opens the movie, and it became such a cultural touchstone for a bit when this movie was in theaters. Drew Barrymore was in this film, originally signed on to be Sydney.
And she's on the poster.
Which is a very weird type of thing, alternate history. What if Drew Barrymore is Sydney for all of these movies?
Don't think it'd be as good, but
I think Neve Campbell.
She nails it.
Yeah.
She's great.
Why don't you talk about the opening sequence a little bit and what we as like a viewer are seeing as this movie opens?
Well, the interesting thing about this movie is everyone references its ties to Psycho, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. You know, that movie, 30 to 35 minutes into the movie, the main actress, Janet Leigh, is killed. And then you're kind of left with sitting there thinking, what is going to happen next? How is the plot going to continue without our lead?
Yep.
And I mean, Drew Barrymore was in the marketing. She was on the poster.
She was doing press tours.
She was doing press tours.
Going
And
on
I'm
Letterman.
sure back in the day in 1996, an audience sitting down have a relationship to Drew Barrymore, obviously throughout all of her 80s work as a child actor leading up to Scream.
She was very kind of infamous at this point.
She did. She was very infamous.
She had gone through a lot in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And this was marketed as being kind of like her big... It was a very smart marketing choice, very brilliant way that everybody behind the scenes chose to go about this in a time where, you know, right before the internet, so you can really get away with this kind of stuff and get away with really weird experimental risks that are not going to get leaked, and you can put your whole marketing budget into making sure. It's such an interesting time.
I mean, besides not Neve Campbell, besides Courtney Cox and her friends' fame at the time, Drew Barrymore was the biggest name in this movie.
By far.
The decision to kill her off is such a strong one, and I think that Drew is great in the first sequence.
Yeah.
I think she you can tell she puts she's really intense in that character, and you feel how scared she is.
Yeah.
And Ghostface,
the stakes are very real.
Stakes are very real. I mean, you're in her house. She's ready to watch a movie with her boyfriend. Her boyfriend's coming over.
She's maybe supposed to be maybe like 17, 18 years old, maybe like a junior or senior in high school.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure people sitting in a theater and watching it was like, this is going to be her boyfriend dying, and she's going to be leading the movie after that and grappling.
She's going to get away somehow.
She's going to get away. It's going to be a huge scare to start the movie, but she's not going to die. Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
And the decision to kill her off, and to kill her off so brutally. It's a brutal kill.
Yeah. No punches pulled. I mean,
no.
It really goes for it in terms of both blood and gore.
Right away, exactly. They kind of draw a line saying this franchise is going to be bloody and gory, and we're not going to make any apologies for it.
Yep.
And I don't think, well, a lot of the horror movies before then, obviously horror has a huge history of blood and gore and shock value, but I don't think a slasher had that much like right away in the mainstream. I would say. I think Scream definitely popularized that level and use of those effects.
It feels, I mean, the opening scene feels very real and very grounded. The rest of the movie, there are instances where it's not grounded in reality, so to speak. But the opening feels like it could happen to any young lady at home, you know, watching a movie. And that's kind of what makes the terror real. And I think if you shy away from the blood and you shy away from the gruesome reality of, you know, what violence actually looks like, you're kind of doing a disservice to the film. I know a lot of horror movies have to do that to get that PG-13. Thankfully, Wes and Kevin and the Weinstein brothers, who were heavily involved in Scream for a long time, they did want this to be an hard R-rated film. They really believed in the script, and a reason they believed in the script was because of how well prepared and well shot the opening was. That was kind of like the audition for the rest of the film. Like, if we can nail this, we can kind of nail anything. And again, the opening stands the test of time. I've seen it so many times that it isn't scary.
Definitely not
Scream
scary
hasn't been
anymore.
scary to me in a long time.
Me either.
Because I've watched it so many times. But, you know, and shout out to Nathan Langhoff, old friend of mine, still a friend of mine, but I don't see you anymore. But for introducing me to Scream. I love you, buddy, and I love Scream, and I'm pumped for Scream 7. But that off to the side, this opening is iconic, and it's one of those openings that is still referenced and still talked about and still revered, and it should be. I mean, it's just the tension, the score from Marco Beltrami.
Yes.
I could be mispronouncing his last name. Did you hear he just signed on to come back to the franchise for 7,
I did not see that at all.
and he hasn't done anything since 4, I believe.
Oh, good. That's
in this.
awesome.
So it's cool to have him back in the fold too. His little moments of score and little like shrill strings kind of make the opening
Just a
too.
very competent, composer.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, scores like big, like very, I don't know, bombastic scores get the most attention, but like a really good horror score, thriller score is hard to master, I think.
Yep.
And Marco Beltrami definitely does that.
But again, the opening, it is Casey, fighting for her life, barely kind of missing an opportunity with her parents as her parents pull into the property, and she's finished off, so to speak. From there, you get the title card, and the movie kind of really goes from there. We're introduced to Sydney Prescott, played by Neve Campbell, who has become an iconic final girl.
She is the final girl.
It's like her and Jamie Lee, as like the two cultural touchstones of horror that you can't kill them.
No,
you just can't.
And when they eventually do, and I'm sure they will, I don't think they're going to do it in 7, but it'll happen.
Maybe
I hope not.
Because they didn't do that with Halloween. They let Laurie
No, they didn't.
kind of ride off into her own little sunset. Maybe I don't know.
That's a good point. Maybe they will let her have her rest. But you never know.
Who knows?
You never know.
Yeah.
I mean, they're introducing her daughter in 7, but that's another can. Another can of worms.
We'll get to that. But yeah, you're immediately introduced to Sydney Prescott. Again, 17, 18 years old. Kind of shy, kind of withdrawn due to the death of her mother the year prior, the murder of her mother the year prior. So Sydney, right away you're told that Sydney is traumatized, and you see it in her performance. She's very standoffish with her boyfriend. She has trust issues, and you see that very clearly. But Neve Campbell, I think it's appropriate to focus on her for a bit, just because, again, she is the final girl of this franchise and of horror, really. And she is somebody who has grown on me so much as a performer and as Sydney. The first couple times I watched Scream, I'm like, I don't know how I feel about her. But now I couldn't imagine anybody else being Sydney Prescott, and what Neve brings in terms of her vulnerability.
Yes.
And her, her deep appreciation for like stage acting. I believe that's where Neve got her start. You can see it, that she's one of the better actors in this film.
Absolutely.
By far. What are your thoughts on Neve? What are your thoughts on how we're introduced to her? I bring this up because not a lot of horror movies will just be like, this is our protagonist and this is why she is so screwed up immediately, And it's a very kind of interesting choice just to like put us right into her world.
Drop it all instead of having to like learn about it. And that in modern horror, I think that like your character's constantly going through trauma, or they have trauma in their past. It's kind of like sprinkled in. It feels a little bit overdone and overcooked at this point. But back with Scream and Sydney, we immediately know what's wrong, and we feel for her, and we feel a lot of empathy for Sydney, and that's all due to Neve Campbell's performance. I think she's a very emotional performer.
100%. Her eyes are.
I think her eyes are her greatest strength.
Yeah, she's a great facial
very
actor,
intense
great
eyes. And when we were watching it not too long ago, there's a shot later in the movie where it just like cuts to her face when she's on the phone with her first real interaction with Ghostface.
Yeah, for sure.
At her house when she's alone. When he says something terrible about her mom, and it cuts to her and she immediately turns after like joking with him.
Yep.
And I always go back to that thinking, that's really hard to do, like hold the camera like that and be so emotional, and you know what's going on behind her eyes. Like you said, that's a great strength of hers. And I don't know, like I wouldn't say Neve is the most like charismatic actress.
No.
But she has a presence about her that lends itself well to the screenplay and with this director and
with this character. She is
like
Sydney.
you, like I have definitely warmed up to Neve as an actress.
Yeah.
And I mean, looking at her the entirety of her career, nowadays all she really does is Scream. Or the big things that she does is the Scream franchise. And, I think some actors would, kind of rest on that. But she's done a lot of work before and after Scream. And
A lot of character work.
yes, and she was a big name for a time. Now, she settled into just being Sydney. And she always will be Sydney Prescott to me.
She's Sydney Prescott.
And that's just a testament to how great she is in all these movies.
How great she is, and again, how well written her character is for having very little on the page in terms of how well written she is. But, whether it was conversations on set between the three of them, Wes, Kevin, and Nev, she really brings a lot that isn't on the page in a way that nobody else in this movie, other than maybe Lillard for sure, brings. She's just great. I really couldn't imagine Barrymore being Sydney. I couldn't imagine anybody being Sydney, and I'm really happy she's coming back.
Yes.
So we're introduced to Sydney. We're introduced to her boyfriend, Billy Loomis.
Billy Loomis.
Yeah, just that last name right away.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Dr. Loomis from Halloween.
Yep, for sure.
That's
the
a
reference.
huge reference.
Billy Loomis, her long-term boyfriend, it seems.
Definitely before her mother was killed.
Yes, played by Skeet Ulrich in a very interesting role. We'll get more into Skeet. I'll leave that for when there's really stuff to talk about. But you're introduced to him. He wants to have sex with his girlfriend. She's appropriately traumatized and withdrawn and needs time to process physical intimacy. And he's pushing.
You're immediately put off by Billy. He's creepy. He's kind of like
he climbs in through her window in the middle of the night because he doesn't want to talk to her father.
And we'll get more into this when eventually Billy's revealed to be one of the killers. Spoiler alert. This will be full spoilers.
Yeah.
His performance is very peculiar because when he's Billy in the beginning of the movie, he's like this, kind of plays him like a heartthrob. Like I'm the mysterious cool guy.
Very like plasticky,
yes,
very hollow and wooden. Very poor acting for a while.
Plasticky is such a great adjective. That's I couldn't put my finger on that. He really does play it like that, where there's not much going on behind there, but obviously later there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, he brings it out later. But right away, you are put off by him. I think as the audience, you're supposed to be like, but at the same time, it's very apparent that Sydney does care about him immediately and that she wants to make this work, blah, blah, blah. He leaves for the night. Sydney's father, who we're briefly introduced to as a really solid guy, Neil Prescott, he's going out of town. He just wants to check on his daughter to make sure she needs anything before he leaves. He leaves town. And the next day, Sydney goes to school. And all hell has broken loose. The media is all over because, again, two of her classmates, Casey and her boyfriend, Steve, have been not just murdered, but as Tatum puts it, slasher film murdered or something like that. So we're also introduced to Tatum, played by Rose McGowan, Sydney's best friend, in a really awesome role. Kind of like tailor-made for her, it seems. She, every final girl has the best friend who doesn't make it through the movie, who's always trying to pump them up and make them feel better, and have these traumatized main characters not even think about it. Let's just keep it light, and I've got your back. And Rose McGowan is really good as Tatum. We're briefly introduced to her. You see that she's sassy. She has a weird sense of humor. Filled with attitude. She is. She knows who she is and doesn't apologize for it. And I believe right in this sequence, you're also introduced to Gale Weathers very briefly.
Very briefly, yes. Because later on when Gale is talking about Sydney's past and Sydney punches her, that's later on in the movie, I believe.
That part, but she has a brief
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because she and her cameraman come in and park at the school and are filming their little bits for the news.
As she's trying to worm. Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we'll get more into Gale, but Gale, played by Courtney Cox, briefly pops up. And then we get one of the more iconic scenes of the movie. Sydney goes to class and she talks to the police and has an interaction with her principal, played by
the great Henry Winkler.
We'll get into him too. But right after that, we get the fountain sequence in which you are introduced to the entire friend group. So Sydney, Tatum, Billy is there, Billy's best friend Stu Macher, played by Matthew Lillard, and then Randy Meeks, played by Jamie Kennedy. Both Lillard and Kennedy are incredible in this scene, especially. This scene almost seems kind of tailor-made for those two to show off their personalities and their characters. We've already met the other guys. Stu and Randy just kind of eat up this scene. But this scene is such a good introduction to the dynamics of this group.
I was just going to say the dynamics are ever present. You know, you get, Stu is just the annoying boyfriend, and he's always saying the wrong things and getting on people's nerves, always on, and saying inappropriate jokes that bothers people, and just he knows how to get under people's skin. Same thing with Randy. I think that's why they make a good pairing, and that's just a great bit of casting to have those two interact with each other. We'll get into Jamie later, but Jamie's fantastic, along with Lillard.
But that shot of the fountain is iconic.
It is.
Of just the group, like, looking into camera.
All very equally interesting performers.
Yeah.
All very different, all very unique. And they all have different performance styles. And obviously, two of them are playing it up, something up. Yeah. Two of them are acting in that sequence and in the dynamic.
Yeah.
So they don't want to reveal their cards, at least not yet.
And, again, this scene isn't long, but it's one of my favorites.
Mine too.
It's iconic. You get Kennedy doing did you put our liver in the mailbox?
Doing that little voice.
Doing his voices. You have Stu doing his, like you said, his inappropriate jokes and, just wild stuff from both of these performers in roles, again, that they were tailor-made for. As the movie progresses, again, we have met the principal, played by everybody knows Winkler, and if you don't know him, you've seen his face. Mm-hmm. He's an American icon, and he plays such a fun little red herring in this film as Principal Hembry. He's a principal. He's clearly doesn't like the students.
He doesn't like the kids.
Doesn't like his job. Probably doesn't like his life, and he's kind of like, I wouldn't even say passive aggressive. He's aggressive towards a couple of students who are wearing ghost face masks and pranking kids and scaring people. And the movie wants you to think that he could be one of the killers, the killer,
like they do with a lot of characters in the movie. They definitely starts with him. I'd say the most obvious, okay, this is setting us up. They want us to make a list of suspects and suss it out.
Yep. Yeah. The whodunit element of Scream, which is really under talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But Principal Hembry cancels school.
There's some stuff that goes on in between all of this.
Well, Sydney does have her
interaction with Ghostface
when she's at home. Her dad's gone. She's gonna stay the night at the Rileys. Tatum, and we haven't met Dewey yet, have we?
We meet Dewey. That's a good question. Do we meet Dewey at the
school? Because that's when he first talks to Gail, and they make their introduction.
Our timelines.
I was 25. For
that makes sense.
I know.
We'll get into. We're not here to recap the whole movie, but just get into the major story beats.
Yeah. But principal cancels school. Ghostface makes his first call to Sydney.
Yep.
First interaction with Sydney. She's chased up the stairs after a really cool conversation, a really cool altercation with Ghostface, where, again, you get to see a lot more of Sydney's personality with her, weird nose-picking thing. What am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
Even though she's traumatized, she does have a sense of brevity.
She's a strong character.
And a strong character.
She's not a damsel.
No.
Which is that's a great testament to the writing and how they structure that character.
When Ghostface gets into her house, she hits him in the face or hits him with a door.
She doesn't cower. She does fight back.
She fights for her life at every turn, but she goes up her stairs, locks her door, calls the police on her computer in a very weird late 90s technological thing that you would never see today. Ghostface 1 leaves, and her boyfriend Billy pops up,
and she's immediately
what the hell are you doing
and
here?
Very suspect of him.
And not only that, Billy immediately drops a cell phone which nobody in the 1999, 1998 had. Nobody's owning cell phones unless you're, a multimillionaire businessman or something like that. But Billy's got a cellular phone, and very quickly is arrested as Dewey and the rest of the police show up to the house.
That might be when we first meet Dewey, when he picks up the mask and scream. He's such an idiot.
I think we definitely meet him before.
We might. I don't know. We've seen this movie so many times.
I know, and now I can't.
And now I can't think of the recap,
yeah.
but that's not important.
We meet Dewey when Principal Hembry and the police chief bring her into the office.
Yes, we do. That's a great point.
And
he's like, the principal's
yeah.
weirdly touching Sydney and being creepy.
And he's like, it's Deputy Riley today said,
yep.
Because she calls him Dewey because they're like friends.
They're friends.
But he's trying to be professional. That's when you meet Dewey. So yes, anyway. We might as well just talk about Dewey a little bit then. David Arquette is another performer who's so weird. He's such a unique film presence.
Very much so.
He usually doesn't work in a
No,
lot of
I don't
roles,
think he's that strong of an actor.
but he works as Dewey.
Perfectly.
Another perfect cast. I think his dynamic with his sister Tatum, his love for Tatum and his care for Sydney, his dynamic with Courtney Cox, which is very clearly real, and they were married and had kids for a long time. You can't fake that, and that's a very pertinent part of the story. Their chemistry is super cool. But yeah, just quick shout out to David Arquette. Dewey is one of the best horror movie characters of all time, and his presence will be sorely missed going forward in the franchise.
They screwed up killing him in 5.
They should have killed off Courtney
Someone
Cox or whatever. Anyway, Dewey's just the best, and in this movie, he is a much needed sense of brevity and lightness, and he brings most of the laughs, other than Lillard and Kennedy.
Absolutely.
In the main meat of the movie. But Billy's arrested. They start doing some phone tracing on him. You meet Billy's dad, who's a weird guy, but is very soon after let off. The records don't match up. He's not the guy. Whatever. And at school the next day, Sydney and him have this weird interaction in the hallway that's always been often parodied.
Yes.
And in the Scary Movie franchise and a lot of other like B movies. But, the kids go to school the next day. Sydney, even after being attacked, she's right at school. You would think she wouldn't be. But, the kids are all eating it up. Lillard especially is eating it up. He's having a blast. He's like, what do you mean? It's like Christmas in here. Everybody's having fun. And, as things get a little crazier, then Principal Hembry decides to cancel classes. And you get that awesome scene with Lillard and Rose and...
when he's walking them out of school.
And inviting them to the party. Right before the video store scene.
Yes.
Why don't you talk about the scene where they're walking out to the party quick? I think that one deserves a quick shout out.
That is the first moment where we get Lillard definitely improvising.
Yeah.
Easily, he's doing, at the end of this sequence, he's doing this guitar move.
Yeah.
Because he's psyched that they're coming. And he's using all this weird language, and he's playing it. I don't think I've ever seen an actor play it up more than Lillard in this movie.
Yeah.
And he obviously doesn't get into that until the end. But yeah, he
is just at 110.
I almost have no words for his performance. It's so funny. He's so funny. And his presence really carries the movie.
For me and for Nathan,
for both of us.
We talk about Lillard all the time. We talk about Stu.
We quote Stu all the time.
He's somebody that, when Lillard came to Lake Geneva a few years ago, we should have went and saw him.
And we didn't. We'll meet him eventually.
Well, yeah,
he's one of those guys that we have a very special and weird relationship with.
I just love every time he pops up.
Yeah, every time he's kind of appointment viewing for us, and we have that with a couple of actors, but he carries one of those torches for us.
But yeah, you definitely get him in this scene at the peak of his game. You get the needle drop with school's out for summer, as he's inviting them, but again, he's definitely improvising. There's no way Kevin wrote that scene that way.
Right.
I would have a very hard time believing that was on the page. But you're really getting to see just how unique of a performer he is. Again, Lillard he didn't even go to the auditions to this movie to try to be Stu. His girlfriend at the time, the cheerleader who's talking poorly about Sydney's mother in the bathroom, she has a really kind of a cool monologue. she had gotten that tiny role, and they just saw him. They're like, that's the guy. You need to come in and read for this. And the rest is history. It kind of like really kickstarted his career. But, this is one of those scenes where Lillard just eats. I mean, he's swinging Rose around on his, on his shoulders. He's picking people up. He's, doing his improv movements, like you said. He's like an alien. It's like you dropped an alien into the middle of this movie with normal people. And right after that, you do get the video.
Which is one of my personal favorite
sequences.
sequences.
Why don't you chat about that?
It's not one of the best, but it's one of my personal favorites because it speaks to how meta this movie is.
This is the meta scene for sure.
Stu is making the rounds, making sure everyone is coming to his fiesta, as he calls it. And he goes to see Randy, who works at like a Blockbuster.
Yep.
And
it is packed in there.
Because everyone's renting movies for the night because they have a curfew. Like everyone has to be indoors by like 8 or 9.
8 or 9, I believe.
And so, Randy's saying, I'm getting off early, so I'll be at the party. And then eventually, Stu brings up, they both start to talk about who the suspects are.
Yeah.
And Randy, being a huge horror movie nerd and like film historian at like 18 years old, and he's into all these B movies and he knows all the tropes and all the stereotypes, and he's kind of laying it out. And they're talking about Sydney's dad maybe being a suspect.
That's what Stu says. Pushing. Yep, Stu is pushing that.
Randy's not buying that. He says, Randy specifically mentions Billy.
It's the boyfriend. It's always the boyfriend.
And
he gets the motive right too.
He definitely clocks it.
Maybe it's because Sydney won't have sex with him.
And eventually,
which isn't
the dad's a red herring. It's a Billy.
Yep.
And then as Randy turns, Billy's there, and that's the first instance where you see the double side.
You see Skeet turn it up a little bit.
Yes, and you see, Billy's kind of menacing.
Yeah.
He's not this weird, creepy, somewhat
heartthrob.
Yeah, heartthrob, whatever.
There's something dark there.
Something dark and something menacing, and he's basically threatening Randy by saying, why couldn't you be a suspect? Like, all this stuff.
That your movie-addled mind, just snapped.
Yep. And then he says, Randy, this is a great line from Kevin Williamson. It's the millennium. Motives are incidental.
Yep.
Meaning, I think that's kind of an ethos statement for this whole franchise. The motives are always a little wacky, a little bit, up in the air, and sometimes the killers just don't make sense. And this one, obviously, this motive is not incidental. Billy has a very strong motive for going after Prescott.
It's not just that Sydney won't have sex with him.
No, it's like very real.
That's like a very tiny part of it in his mind, I'm sure.
But
you get that video sequence where, again, the movie presents Randy as the expert.
Yes.
And, he's pointing people to where certain movies are in the store, and he's got his references all lined up.
Lillard's also fantastic in this sequence, too. Randy eventually says, now that she's done with Billy, meaning Sydney, do you think Sid will go out with me? And then Lillard has this amazing reaction where he laughs in his face and points at him and goes, and then he turns, no, I don't think she'd do that at all.
No, not at all. Yeah.
Nope.
Randy goes on his rant where he's screaming about who could be the suspect, like, everyone's a suspect. And Lillard's just in the background, like, trying to.
This guy's crazy.
This guy's crazy.
Yeah.
It's fun background acting from him too, with like very little to do but every time Lillard's in the background of a scene, he's doing something weird.
You're paying attention to him.
Yeah, even when he's out of focus, he's doing something, which is great. But yeah, Billy has that interaction with Randy. He backs off, and he immediately goes into a group with like 3 other girls.
Yeah, you can.
He's flirting with other women.
He's speaking to as like heartthrob his thing that he's projecting, and why I'm sure girls are jealous of Sydney and playing up that dynamic. And he's definitely
a flirt.
He's a flirt, and he is not very careful about it.
No,
he's
in that video store talking to these girls are very clearly interested in him in the background.
And you can tell if Sydney walked in and be like, he'd turn back into his like sulking, like, why won't you sleep with me? Yeah. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with us? Like, he definitely has something that he's playing with Sid and that he's playing outside
with everybody
outside
else,
of Sid,
for sure. But right after that, Billy walks away, and Randy's like, "You tell me that guy's not the killer?"
Mm-hmm.
I do believe right after that you get the scene with Sydney in the supermarket with Tatum, and then their chat at that rotunda, which I
Yes.
like that scene. The
Me too.
supermarket sequence doesn't really make sense,
No.
but you get that chat between Rose and Nev. That's like the best character moment for these two.
Yeah.
They have kind of a real heart-to-heart about some difficult topics about whether Nev's mother, Sydney's mother, who has the reputation of kind of the town whore at this point. Maybe, as lovingly as she can, Tatum is trying to like bring up these tough subjects. And maybe your mother was really unhappy. Maybe she was cheating. Maybe Cotton Weary didn't do this. Because in the beginning, you briefly see Cotton Weary played by
Liev Schreiber.
And just on TV. Such an interesting like
setup
for the rest of the franchise. He's in the
next two.
More. Yeah. But Cotton Weary is a local man who has been
convicted. He's been
convicted of this murder, which he has not committed.
No, he's been framed.
But this scene between Tatum and Sydney is just so cool. What are your thoughts on this sequence and just like,
I kind of see, like you mentioned earlier, Tatum really cares about Sydney.
Yeah.
And they have a really special relationship. It feels very lived in, their relationship. They have good chemistry.
Yeah, they do.
Even though two different performers, not weird. Rose is definitely full of attitude and spunk and kind of like Sydney, very strong, and she does fight back in her own way later in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And you can see how they're friends, and it's a very warm sequence between the two, even though it does have broader implications with kind of giving us hints about who the killer might be and Sydney's mom's history in Woodsboro back in the day.
Yep.
And it does a good job of setting us up for the whole Stu party sequence, which is why you watch the movie, in my opinion.
Well,
obviously the first sequence, but
right before the party, you get the Principal Himbry death.
I forgot about that. Yes.
I think that happens it happens right after the rotunda scene.
Yep.
Nobody's in the school other than a janitor, played by Wes Craven, named Fred, who's wearing like a Freddy Krueger.
He literally is just wearing a Freddy costume without like the face.
Yeah, but he's got like a big bushy beard, so you can't tell. So it's a fun little director cameo. But Winkler is walking around, tying up loose ends before he goes home for the day. And he's scaring himself at first. He's like messing with the mask that he confiscated, and he keeps putting it in mirrors and scaring himself. But then you start hearing noises, and there's somebody in this office with me. He goes out to check on Fred again. Fred's gone. And then he's ambushed by one of the two killers, and he is stabbed 4, 5, 6, 7 times. And
very violent.
And that's the end of Winkler.
Knocking off a suspect.
Yes, and it does knock off a suspect.
Which is a huge part of the whodunit. Yep. You have to get rid of a suspect. Someone has to die.
Yep.
People have to die off so that you're guessing, like, oh, I thought it was going to be him. Because he was very suspicious with his
He's very menacing.
behavior.
He's very like sexually creepy towards
Sydney and really nasty towards some of the students. And he projects like we didn't talk about these little moments when over the intercom he's like, your principal loves you and hope you have a great day.
I love that.
Like, your principal cares for you. Yep. And then behind closed doors, he's kind of a monster.
Yeah, for sure.
Not a good person.
But so Stu is having a party. His parents are out of town. He's got a big place outside of town that he's like telling everybody about again. And we pull up to this really cool, which has now become an iconic horror set piece that has it appeared in Scream 3.
It came back in 5.
And it's
going to be in 7.
It's going to be in 7. Stu Bacher's house is an iconic location in this franchise, and
you don't really get that in horror.
No,
think about that. Like locations
people move around. Or things happen in different
places. A central location like that.
Yeah.
Like you have obviously you have the house in Halloween and that opening, but like and they go back to that at the end of it, and you have some movies that have like maybe iconic, stick at the same time. But man, the Stu Macher house is expansive.
It's
a lot of different rooms. I love how it's set up. And yeah, it makes
You have
for
everything on the outside. There's like a barn on the outside
Mhm.
that, there's farmland. It's completely in the middle of nowhere, next to a forest. It really is the perfect place to throw a party and or set a trap.
right.
And so Sydney and Tatum pull up with snacks for the party. The party's already going. Stu's in his red velveteen robe, drinking, and just
Kind of being the life,
being the life,
the glue of the party.
yeah,
Kind of
It's-
talking to
it's-
everybody.
It's his party,
his
so he
party.
might as well be, right? But at the same time, we have Dewey and Gail Weathers, who have really started to have some sort of chemistry, and they've spent some time together, and she's always badgering him for details about the case over the movie because she's trying to get her big break. And she kind of fools him into allowing her to go to the party with him.
And plant a camera in the party.
To plant a camera,
Yeah.
for sure. He's just happy that his celebrity crush, because earlier in the movie he makes it clear that he's been watching her on TV, and I was 24 for a whole year, or whatever his line is. But he's just happy to have any woman, let alone a celebrity in his mind, on his shoulder. So they go into the party, and he's immediately chastised by his younger sister Tatum. Dewey, what are you doing here?
He's like a little puppy.
Oh, yeah.
Dewey is like the ultimate like puppy
He
character.
takes a beer out of like a high schooler's hand. He's like, hey, you can't drink that. He's like, just kidding.
Just kidding.
Have fun.
Yep.
Be safe.
You can tell like Dewey is like the cool cop. Everyone likes Dewey.
He wants everybody
to like him.
which is not always a great
No,
quality
no.
for a cop
he's
to have,
a
right?
dim-witted cop,
Yeah. But Gail is smart, and she is using the distraction of Dewey to plant a camera right in the middle of the living room underneath the television, which becomes
It's a
part of
yeah,
the
it's
plot.
a part. Yeah.
They leave the party because they kind of get kicked out, so to speak. They go back to the news van where Kenny, her TV guy, is
Her bumbling
her
videographer.
bumbling, who's just always eating Cheetos or
Yeah.
snacks, and he's watching the video from the van. Dewey and her go to take a walk, in which Dewey's like, "Oh yeah, let's go look for suspects." Really, he just wants to go take a walk with his crush.
Mhm.
Kenny's monitoring the party.
At this point, I think also Billy has entered the party,
Yep.
and he's with Sydney, and he's talking with her.
Yeah,
In upstairs,
Yep.
away from the party.
Stu very suavely offers his parents' bedroom.
Yeah.
You guys can go up there, talk, whatever.
And then Billy's like very. What does he say?
He just like hits him really hard. He's like, ow.
Very subtle. I think he does it like subtlety.
Yeah.
Think about it.
But Billy shows up to the party after a character death.
You're right about that. We haven't touched on that yet.
Billy doesn't just show up at the party. So most of our characters are watching Halloween, and Stu and Jamie are kind of having not a back and forth, but they're kind of like discussing the film broadly in a meta way. And Tatum goes to she's like, "Does anybody need another drink?" Stu asks her to go get another drink, and she goes to the Mocker garage, which is just like, there's nothing in this fridge but beer.
But beer.
It's like it's one of
It's
those.
stocked.
It's one of those type of fridges, like either Stu's mom or Stu's dad, like really likes to
Right.
knock them back, right? And so she goes out there, gets a couple of beers. She gets like a handful, like 4 or 5 of them. Bring back to the group. She turns around and there's Ghostface. He has closed the door behind him. It's one of the cooler like shots of the movie. The first, because he's up on these stairs, so he's kind of like menacing, towering over her. It's also where you get the name Ghostface, uttered by Tatum for the first time. Don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel.
Yeah.
Tatum is under the impression this is Randy playing a trick on the party. Randy loses the costume. If Sydney sees it, she'll freak.
Ghostface isn't talking.
Who is this is Billy as Ghostface
Yes.
in this scene. Grabs her arm and just
cuts.
gets her a little cut, just to like let her know
This is real.
this is real, and this there's more than just this little cut coming your way. And as you said, she's a fighter.
She throws beers at him. She uses the fridge door and knocks him out.
She kicks him in the groin.
Yep. They fight back because one thing
She's fighting,
really
fighting
quickly
for her life.
about Ghostface just in general,
they're not supernatural. They're people. They're going to get beat up. Like, they get hurt.
Yep.
You know, because there's someone behind that mask who is going to hurt as much as, like, Sid does or any other of the characters do. You know,
And
they
when-
feel
yeah.
pain.
And when they are hurt, you usually hear like, oh!
A grunt, like a moan. You hear something, and it's like, oh yeah, like this isn't like Freddy or Jason or
This is a
Michael
person.
Myers. This is a person.
So she gets a couple good licks in and makes a crucial error. She tries to sneak out through the doggy door of the garage, and Ghostface Billy pushes the garage door opener. It lifts her. She can't get unstuck, and wedges her and breaks her neck on the frame of the garage. And it's a very interesting kill, a very like iconic kill.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that point on, you just see Ghostface sneak into the party.
Yeah.
And I don't know where Billy goes, but it's like you said, it's a big house. He just takes
He could just go in the bathroom and put the stuff in the bathroom, and he's out. And well, he has to go to the front door though, because that's when he comes in and he sees Sid and Stu.
So after the Tatum kill, Billy and Sydney go upstairs, but this is also where the rules are being talked about.
Yes, and
why don't you chat about the rules for a little bit?
Man, I'm gonna struggle with exactly what they are, but eventually,
this is why we have AI.
Randy brings up the rules, his rules.
Yep.
And no one knows what the rules are. They're all drunk. They're all watching Halloween after they've picked a movie to watch, and he eventually stands up and is giving this like his manifesto on horror movies.
You don't know the rules? You have an
he's
aneurysm. Why don't you?
He's giving steps at what not to do in a horror movie, or else you're going to be killed.
This happens because Stu. When do we see Jamie Lee's breasts? And then Jamie.
He's like
Kennedy
giving the
goes
history.
into
He's like, not until Trading Places.
Yep.
And then he not in because he makes a point saying Jamie Lee Curtis was always the virgin
in horror
movies, which does have ties to real life, like that those were how
tropes
in horror movies. It's like 80s, 70s.
Yep. So he gives the first rule, which is if you can't have sex if you want to survive a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and they're all booing him. They're throwing popcorn at him.
Yep. And you will also not
sex
survive.
Sex equals death. That's
sex equals death. You won't survive the movie if you're drinking or doing drugs.
They're all cheering.
At that point, they all raise their glasses, and even Kennedy is drinking too. He's like, big no, it's a sin. It's the sin. And then he gives his third and final rule, which is, and if somebody says they'll be right back, they won't be back. So don't say you'll be right back. At that point, Stu gets up and gives one of his best line readings in the movie. I'll be right back, as he stumbles
like a zombie as he's going back
into the background.
Yep. And they're all like laughing, going like, oh, like he's in trouble now.
The way teenagers would, right? From that point, you have Billy and Sydney having a heart-to-heart. There's some real emotional moments.
Sydney's forgiving him,
yeah,
and kind of saying like, "I believe you. Like you're not one of the killers. Like I fully trust you."
And I do need to get past my mother's death, and the way we need to do that is by having sex.
Yeah,
this is what you've been pushing the whole time. Blah blah blah. They do that. They reconnect. At the same time, downstairs, Jamie Kennedy is getting a phone call that Principal Himbree's body's been found. So 90% of the party,
they leave. They take off. Yeah, they take off.
Leaving very few people in this house.
Yes.
At this point, right before Sydney and Billy go upstairs, she's looking for Tatum because she wants to leave the party.
Mm-hmm.
Tatum's clearly nowhere to be found. They go upstairs. They do that. From that point, we have Dewey and Gail. They find this car parked in the middle of the forest, which is Neil Prescott's car.
Mm-hmm.
Again, reinforcing another red herring that Neil might be the killer. And we're left with our characters kind of spread out everywhere. Jamie Kennedy is the only one on the TV. He's finishing Halloween.
He's focused on Halloween. Mm-hmm.
At this point, he's very drunk.
And he's talking to the TV.
To himself
telling,
and to the
telling the
TV.
characters behind you, like, look out.
Yep.
He's like, these characters are so dumb. Like,
Yep.
I'm the smart one. Like, I know movies.
Yep. As Kenny's watching him do this on the monitor, you don't really know where Stu is at this point. I believe Sydney and Billy are
They're still upstairs.
And Dewey and Gale are on their way back to the house. As everybody's leaving, they almost run over Dewey and Gale, right? And so at this point, like we're at the meat of this movie, and you know what? Where does Gale? What?
Okay, so I was just thinking about this.
Yeah.
So Gale and Dewey, they obviously fall down and they see the car. I was just thinking, I think it kind of really picks up when those two come back. But then is it Sydney that goes out to the van after Billy? Is Billy the first domino to drop? We're talking about this like...
Well, yeah. Well, after Sydney and Billy have sex, Ghostface appears and stabs Billy multiple times. Stabs.
Telling the audience that Billy is most likely dead.
Yeah.
And that Billy's not a suspect.
Yep.
So that crosses Billy off for now.
So Sydney
Yeah.
is being chased by the second killer. Well, we still don't know that there's two killers. This could all just be one.
Right.
But there's two.
We know that there's two.
She escapes barely. She sees Tatum's body. She runs.
She runs to the van, right?
Yes.
And sees Kenny. And at that moment,
Kenny's watching Jamie.
Randy's watching the TV. And what we didn't say, there's like a tape delay.
Yep.
There's like a 30-second
tape
delay. So we're behind. In the van with Kenny, we're behind.
Yep.
And eventually Ghostface is
right behind
Randy. And we're like, oh, he's about to kill Randy. Randy's dead. And something happens.
Nothing happens.
We don't even really see what happens.
Ghostface just decides to keep moving. He doesn't.
Right. He doesn't kill Randy.
Which is kind of interesting.
Maybe they want to keep Randy as a suspect.
That too, but like given the second killer's relationship to Randy, Stu is the second killer, and Stu's like it seems like Stu and Randy actually do have.
They're pretty tight. I don't think that Billy has any relationship with Randy. I don't think he likes Randy.
I don't think Stu has any interest in killing Randy because even when Stu is outside of the house,
he doesn't.
He just like throws him to the side.
And yeah.
We'll
eventually get to Billy and Randy, but yeah,
for sure.
For sure.
I think that's an interesting thing that I've never really picked up on. That he has every opportunity to take Randy out, simple and clean.
Mm-hmm.
Not Randy for some reason, which is strange.
And so after that, Kenny gets out. And he's about to go.
He remembers the 30-second delay.
And then Ghostface kills Kenny. And
Sydney
keeps running. She escapes once again. And
that's when she gets into Dewey's cop car.
Yes.
Does the whole car lock thing.
At that point, isn't it before that Dewey's dead?
He's been stabbed. In the back.
And it's this kind of like creepy moment where Dewey's like squinting and you don't know what he's doing. And he's like Sydney. He's like talking so quietly. Yeah. And eventually you see the knife in his back and he falls.
Yeah. And that's when you get the first Ghostface knife clean of the franchise too. This is Stu doing all this chasing at this point. So Stu is chasing her around. She gets into the house, gets Dewey's gun, and then from two directions, Stu and Randy come running. Randy's limping. He's blaming Stu. Stu is limping, blaming Randy.
Before we move forward, Gale at this point before this all happens, right? Gale takes the van. Our timeline is so probably screwed up when talking about this, but Gale takes the van and
there's so much going on in the 45.
I know.
Though.
Kenny's on the van and there's blood on the windshield and she's wiping it. Then Kenny's body, because Ghostface somehow gets Kenny's body up on the van.
Up there.
And Gale sees she's trying to get out as quickly as possible. Gale sees Sydney and then crashes into a tree, making Gale incapacitated and thinking, oh, so Gale's probably not a suspect either. We're losing all these suspects one after another. But then, like you said, with the gun, and keep going. Yeah,
well, I totally forgot about that.
There's so much stuff that happens.
And it moves at a really fast pace.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, as Randy and Stu are like fighting to get into the house, at this point you're under the impression that pretty much everybody's dead other than Sydney, Randy, and Stu. So it has to be.
Yep. It has to be one of those two.
It has to be Randy or Stu.
Yep.
F you both, and locks the
Locks the
door,
door.
closes it. At this point, Billy, bloodied, stumbling, comes up from upstairs, Sydney, and then falls down the stairs. Convincingly, you would think, oh man, he's
alive.
He's clinging on to life, but he's here. She, rushes to help her boyfriend, of course, and
then Randy opens the door.
Yep.
And
no, Billy opens.
Billy opens it.
Like, give me the gun.
And then Randy like rushes in.
Yeah,
because he's like he escaped.
Stu's crazy. He's gone mad.
And then Billy turns, takes the gun. We all go a little mad sometimes. The Norman Bates line from Psycho, and shoots Randy right in the shoulder, and he falls.
Yep.
And from that point on, that is the complete turn. Billy's a killer.
Yep.
And then he's telling, this is where also the Kevin Williamson script is coming in and all the referential stuff. He's saying he licks his fingers and goes corn syrup, the same stuff they use for pig's blood in Carrie. And then
he's got this crazy look in his eye.
He has a crazy, and he's all the fake blood on him, and he's
smiling maniacally. He has reached a whole different energy that he doesn't even pretend to get to in the rest of the movie. But from this point on, Skeet Ulrich is really good in this film. She
turns around
and to run from her boyfriend.
And then Stu kind of just comes in and looks like
he looks like he's so like
traumatized. And then he takes out, and he looks down at her and takes out the voice box, which we haven't really talked about, but Ghostface is using like a voice disguiser.
Well, you don't know that.
We don't know that until now. That's true. A voice disguiser, and he goes, "Surprise, Sydney," and looks down at her. And so we know there's the two killers.
Yep.
We know there's two.
And these are the two.
And so everything up to this point, the whodunit has been solved.
Yep.
It's these two, and the movie unfolds from there.
They corner Sydney in the kitchen, in which one of my favorite, like the motivation scene and everything with Billy and Stu. Billy being a little more serious while Stu is just like giddy with glee, resting his chin on Billy and just doing these weird tongue things and just chewing scenery as he always does.
Oh man, yeah.
But we're also privy to the real motive of this is something that every time I watch this movie, Billy has not told Stu, his partner in crime, why he wants to do this. He just knows that Stu is impressionable and he can use Stu. And Stu admits as much.
Peer
pressure. But they bring Sydney's father out, who they've had kidnapped probably the whole film. He never made it to wherever he was. And they start to do like the villain monologue, right? Why don't you talk a little bit about that sequence and what Billy is doing and what Stu is doing?
Yeah, so while Lillard is chewing scenery and having a lot of fun, Billy is being genuinely like serious, and he's very angry. There's a very palpable tension there between him and Sydney, and he basically goes into how Sydney's mom, like you said, like the town horror, like she got around. Sydney's mom slept with Billy's dad, causing his mom to leave and like breaking up his family.
Yep.
And to one, that might sound like, okay, like that's really sad. That's awful. That's an awful thing to do to a family and to a kid. But then Billy talks about how, he wanted to take revenge on Sydney's mom, and they did that, and they talk about how easy it was to frame Cotton Weary.
Yep.
And they give a little bit of a background into how they did what they did and where they are right now.
Watched a lot of movies, took a lot of notes. It was fun.
Right. And like you said, Stu has this moment where he looks confused after Billy says drops all this information.
He looks genuinely like, whoa.
And he's like, I did not know that's what I was getting
myself into.
Yeah. And eventually they bring out Sydney's dad, and they're saying like we're framing him like he's the next framed suspect. Yep. Like he's going to be convicted of murdering all these kids.
And at this point,
and snapping, basically.
The police already think it's him.
Yep.
So they've already what these two kids have done has already worked so far.
Very brilliant.
Of course, cloned his cellular. It's all right there, baby. Clearly there'd be some fingerprints, but Anyway, they're revealing their whole master plan, and it's at this point where they also reveal that, then there's Billy and me. We were left for dead, and they start to reveal that they're going to stab each other a few times, and they are going to be left for dead, right? Billy, like you said, has a little bit of he is completely unhinged at this point.
He's unhinged, yeah.
There's a lot of theories online of, whether or not he's trying to purposely kill Stu.
I think he is.
A lot of people do. I mean, I don't know.
If he's not, he gets dangerously close to doing that.
Which Stu tells him. He tells him he's feeling a little woozy. And I think I'm dying here, man. But as they're monologuing, Gale Weathers wakes up and, stumbles upon those two, picks up their gun, and looks like she's about to save the day.
Mm-hmm.
Billy and Stu turn their attention to her. They both know. Well,
Billy walks up to her.
Yeah, Billy he knows
no fear.
He knows that the gun is on safety and that this woman isn't just gonna check that. She's just gonna pull the trigger and hope. She does pull the trigger. He knocks her out. She slumps down right next to her love interest,
Dewey.
Yep. And they look like they're about to take out Gale. They turn around to see try to gloat to Sydney, watch what we're about to do to this person. Sydney's gone.
Mm-hmm.
She's running away. And her father's with her. She somehow got her father up, and he's hopping around too. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But Billy goes on this rampage looking for them. Stu is a little too hurt. He's been stabbed about 4 or 5 times. He's losing a ton of blood.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, everything with Lillard here is some of our favorite stuff. Some of the best improv in the movie.
Sydney gets a hold of the voice disguiser, and she calls the phone, and
she's
at first Billy answers and goes like, "Where are you?" And Sydney's messing with them, but eventually Billy
reveals that she called the police too.
Yeah, which is really about to screw up their whole plan. And Billy throws the phone at Stu's head, and then he yells at Billy. But then Billy goes crazy and is ripping apart the couch, and he's completely unhinged. You're right. And then Stu
is still on the phone.
Is so soft and goes, "Hello," because he's close to dying. He's dying.
Hello.
And everything with that. My mom and dad are going to be so mad at me.
Yeah, Sydney's like Stu. Like she almost has a little bit of pity for him. Oh, you're just an idiot. Like what?
You're pathetic.
What's your motive? He's like, peer pressure. I'm far too sensitive. But yeah, that's probably my favorite line reading. My mom and dad are gonna be so mad.
Oh, it's so great.
He's on the verge of tears. He has completely destroyed.
Blood's coming out of his mouth.
Yeah, he's choking up blood. He's in bad shape.
Near death.
He's in bad shape. But to the end, Lillard is still just bursting with energy and personality. There's a brief altercation between Sydney, now wearing a ghost face costume, and Billy. She stabs him with an umbrella. He goes unconscious.
Stu comes out of nowhere and is
wakes
yelling
up out of his
yelling
little coma. Yeah. Chases her down. Kind of gets the upper hand, but again, Sydney, always the fighter, gets a big vase and smashes it over his head, and then
takes the TV,
takes a television, which is still playing Halloween, and
electrocutes him.
Drops on his head, electrocuting him.
Supposedly.
Yeah, depending on what you believe, right?
Yep.
But so Stu's gone, and it seems like the movie's, we might be good now. But then Billy comes back. I don't even remember
how is he fully taken out again? Is he shot?
Well, yeah. I mean,
he's shot.
Because then Randy gives you got to shoot him in the head one time.
Yep.
But I can't remember how Sydney gets the upper hand on him after killing Stu.
Doesn't she put her finger in his gunshot, like the stab wound? And I forgot exactly how he's taken out.
Gale shoots him.
Yeah.
I remember the safety that time, asshole.
Yep.
And then Sydney takes the gun a second time and shoots him.
After he pops up.
Yeah.
Because Randy goes, it's a classic horror movie. There's going to be one last scare. The killer's going to come back one more time, which is very true. And he does, and she shoots him in the head.
Yeah.
And that is Scream.
Yeah, we really... So, I mean, at the end of this movie, you really have what should have been the core four for a while. They've been trying to push the core four in the newer Scream movies. Should have been Nev and Sydney and Dewey and Gail and Randy for the next
however
the
many
next
movies.
couple of movies. Things happen, whatever. But the ending of this movie, I know this has been like a hodgepodge of just chaos the past 40 minutes talking about it, but the last 45 minutes of this film is very frenetic, very fast-paced, a lot going on, following a lot of different characters in different places, and it all works. The last 45 minutes of this movie is the best part of any horror movie for me.
The best horror movie stretch.
It's just fun.
Yep.
It's so hard not to fall into it once they get to Stu Macher's house on Turner Lane.
Yep.
But we haven't really done any awards. The best scene would be this scene.
It's the huge 45-minute stretch.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite, if not my favorite, stretch in any horror movie. I think it's so
well
perfect.
Done. Yep. It really is.
Someone could argue for the first scene, and I wouldn't debate them. No. That is a masterful sequence from Craven.
But, really, what Scream has that a lot of horror movies don't is like characters with actual personality. Again, this is a real tribute to Kevin Williamson, and I have no idea how he, or what inspired him. There was a real life serial killer. I know that was part of it, but what he did with these characters, making them feel so real and lived in, and making their friendships feel real. A lot of horror movies try to do that, like I Know What You Did Last Summer, the original, and I know Scream just has a certain...
Horror movie characters were never really given a lot of depth.
No.
Especially the slasher type.
No.
And when they're using high school kids.
And archetypes to tell the story.
Very one note, like the jock, the popular girl, the nerd. The
weirdo.
And we have that in this movie. They do play on that, for sure. But they're given a lot more depth, a lot more stuff to chew on, just as actors and performers.
Most of it centered around Sydney and her trauma. But I was just reminded of The Faculty, another
great movie.
Kevin Williamson written screenplay in which all these stereotypes of these horror movie characters are adequately filled too, but just in a very different type of world. And,
definitely not as much depth to that movie, but a very strong, funny script from Williamson. Another really good movie that I'd love to pod about one day. But
for sure.
He definitely had a grip. The late 90s going into the 2000s, he was like the horror movie writer.
Yep.
You went to him if you wanted to have a fun, snappy script, and obviously paired with Craven, one of the masters of horror, you're going to get a really good movie.
Yep.
And they continued to make good movies. I just rewatched 2. I think 2 is a rock solid. Definitely not as good as the first, not even close, but really good. I'm excited to rewatch 3 and 4. These are going to be timeless movies for us for the rest of our lives.
I just got through all of them, and Scream 6 is a weird rewatch.
Mm-hmm.
It was only my second time watching it, but
I've only seen it one time too.
There's some fun stuff in it. But yeah, this franchise is just fodder for Nathan and I think the self-referential humor, the meta subtext, the movie references, the horror references, the rules,
the actor, all the performances they get.
This is just one of those franchises that is it's almost like a comfort franchise.
Which is weird to say about a horror movie, but this one is.
Yeah.
Easily.
And again, the metatextual part of Scream, just as a franchise, the rules are always being added to in these movies. There are always new tropes of horror being explored. 4 especially, I think, does a really good job of exploring some new tropes after about a decade off in the franchise. But these movies are they're smart, and they're poking fun, and they're self-aware, and they're not too serious. It's a perfect mix of a lot of different sensibilities to me that make horror what they are. Again, Scream is not very scary, but the tension and the character and the whodunit element, it really lends itself to multiple watchings.
It's thrilling.
Yeah. Again, especially the beginning and end of the original is just incredible. We don't want to gloss over it, but this is a well-directed movie. Wes Craven really knows what he was doing here, and he really put his foot into it, especially the 45 minutes that ends this movie. There's not one wasted moment, not one wasted interaction. It's well shot. It's well lit.
Well, think about the editing.
It's
How they have to
yeah.
edit all those different characters and how they're
Make it
interacting
work.
with each other.
Make the timelines work.
All the locations in the house. I mean, they talked about that. That was like a difficult shoot.
Yeah.
That was a
spent
really difficult
months.
shoot.
They spent months on that last sequence. They spent, I think, a month and a half on the opening with Barrymore.
Which is super impressive and just a testament to how Craven knows how to direct a thrilling, scary sequence.
Yeah.
But contains all these mini genres. Like it can be funny, it can be sad, it can be scary. There's a lot of tension, and you're on the edge of your seat watching these movies. And he is one of my personal favorite horror movie directors. I think easily it's him and John Carpenter. I mean, those are two bona fide masters of horror. And Wes, and now that John's retired, sorely missed in the horror movie canon right now. Even though their movies will live on, I really do miss their presence, and I think we're kind of searching for the next one, like for the next master to come through. And we've had people come in and out of the genre, but
well, horror right now is trying to be a little more philosophical, as opposed to like a good slashers aren't really happening.
Making a good solid thriller, slasher, whatever in the genre. Like you just got a really fun movie. And I don't know, I think you're either getting remakes or reboots that feel kind of stale. Or like you said, you're getting kind of like all these characters in trauma and the movies about their trauma, and the villains in the movie, the scares are...
It's really about
it's
in here.
A lot of very metaphorical. And I don't know, I just want a good fashioned slasher / whodunit. I really want a good time at the movies, and that's why I'm super pumped for 7, even though I have my reservations about some aspects of the movie. These movies...
They're fun.
They scratch an itch.
Yeah, they do.
And I don't know, like we keep saying, we've been babbling about it for an hour now. It's my favorite horror movie franchise because there's not many weak points. They're all at least good.
Yep. Even the lesser movies, like to me, 3 and 6, they're a lot of fun. There's a lot of... I told, like last week, when I watched Scream 3, I'm like, oh, this is better than I thought it was. This is fun, at least. These movies, there's a reason why they're still doing them, why they've stood the test of time, and there's a reason why, for at least the 6th one kind of got away from like any type of metatextual analysis. But I can imagine that Williamson was kind of he's going to bring that back in the 7th one.
I think so too.
With the AI deep fake thing, perhaps.
Right.
That has been heavily rumored. But either way, I'm just pumped to have Williamson at the helm. I mean, if it can't be Wes due to mortality, it should be the guy who made it. Now, God only knows what he'll be as a director. He's only directed one other film. It's been a long time.
The trailer looks good. I will say that. Yeah. It looks like he has a solid... There's going to be a lot of good like set pieces.
Yeah.
And good sequences. So
some cool kills.
I have my hope.
Me too. But, Scream, again, not just this movie, but the whole franchise is a lot of fun. It just... Even if you're not into horror, I think this is the perfect stepping off point into horror. It was... I say that it was my first horror movie that I fell in love with. I'd seen other horror movies before that they scared me. This is important to me. I know it's important to Nathan. And if you're horror adverse or horror, whatever, I do think this is a
gateway,
a good safer choice.
It's accessible horror in my opinion, and it's kind of pop horror, which I think can be maybe like a criticism for some people. It's not for me. I think that's impressive when horror movies can be accessible and don't go too far into violence and gore. Yeah. I think at that point, like trauma porn, I have no interest in that at all.
No,
the violence needs to have a purpose, even though it can be a little over the top at times in these movies. It never feels gratuitous, right?
Like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or not the original, but like
lately,
the 04 remake is abhorrent. The Saw franchise. I know I like the first Saw.
Me too.
that's like an actual genre film, but like what Saw turned into, the torture porn genre, shock over substance. Shock over substance is usually what people think of with horror. Scream definitely is, not just this one, but as a franchise, a little more substance over, it is the safest jumping off point, I would say.
I think that's inarguable. Especially in like modern horror, this is the most accessible gateway if you want to step into watching horror movies.
And again, tis still the season. I know Halloween just ended, but it's never a bad time to go through these movies. I just watched every single one, and they're all a lot of fun. And I have a lot of friends who feel the same way. I'm sure Nathan does too. It's just these are timeless horror movies. They're not making Friday the 13th right now. They're not making Nightmare on Elm Street right now. This is one of those franchises that has continued somehow.
I mean, you're mixing Agatha Christie whodunits with a slasher. I mean, that's a brilliant premise and a brilliant jumping off point. And I mean, they're mystery movies.
Yep.
Obviously, they're violent and they're scare. There's big jump scares and everything. But I don't know. There's something you can come back to, and it doesn't ever feel truly stale.
No.
Obviously, some of like the motives can feel stale. Some of the performances, like whoever they get in the movie, maybe the writing's not totally on par with the early fare.
Yeah.
And four, which is the most underrated Scream, and this is probably the second best.
My second favorite for sure.
But this franchise always finds a way to reinvent itself.
Keep moving.
Yep.
It even with like below average box office returns, it just keeps kind of trucking along, which is cool. Because again, I'm not too into like Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, but those are like American touchstones that are just dead, just completely.
They're lying dormant, and they'll come back.
Of course they will.
But I mean, it's such a testament to these movies that you're getting Nev back, you're getting Courtney Cox back, you're bringing back all these old characters that are still pretty good. They're not.
And in 7, you're bringing back Matthew Lillard, David Arquette, and Scott Foley, who played the killer in the third movie. Again, we'll see.
To see to what degree they're in it.
To what degree, yeah. But it's a very interesting.
I mean, getting Lillard back is a huge. That should be a boon, to the success of this movie.
People have been wanting him to come back. He was supposed to come back in the third one, but yeah. Just as a franchise, the metatextual stuff really lends itself to multiple rewatches. And if you haven't seen Scream, it is a touchstone for a reason, not just for Nate and I, but for many other film fans of multiple types of genres. It stands the test of time. It has a great cast. It's well written. It's well directed, and it sets up a franchise that is always evolving, always entertaining, and something that we're looking forward to. But thanks for tuning in, and go check out Scream if you haven't.